Hi everyone, thanks for joining Michelle Crawford Watercolor. Today we'll be painting a bunch of wildflowers with some pen and wash. So this is a quick and easy tutorial, super simple. We're just going to start off with a little bit of alizarin crimson, and I'm using some very light wash to make some C strokes. This will be a little peony, and this is meant to be very, very loose, so just kind of get the shape of the flower. You're really just painting, starting with some circles in the middle and painting some C shapes around it. So simple as that. We're going to let that sit while we make a couple leaves. So I'm mixing a little bit of sap green with a tiny bit of dioxazine purple just to dull it down a bit, and just two really, really simple leaf shapes here. And I'm going to wash off my brush. Now I'm grabbing actually a little bit smaller brush. I was using an 8, now I'm down to a 6. And I just grabbed a little bit more of the pigment for my flower and dropping in a little bit here and there, trying to follow the contours of the strokes I was making earlier, but leaving some white space and also some of the wash underneath, and then going in with a lot more pigment and just dropping a little bit more of that in. Now here's where you have to exercise some patience. We're just going to let this watercolor kind of sit and dry, and move on to the leaves. Doing the same thing here, just taking a little bit more pigmented wash of that green and just dropping that around the edges and around on the tips of the leaves. All right, so now I think we'll do a bit of a lilac, and so this is another really simple flower. I'm going to mix a little bit of my dioxazine purple with a tiny bit of maybe some sap green just to dull it down a bit. I want to have this flower be purple and maybe a little bit blue, and so I'm also adding a little bit of indigo on the left side of my palette, a little more dioxazine purple on the right. And so we're going to do a couple layers, drop in some color here on this lilac, and really mix together these purple and dark blue colors. So starting with a pretty light wash of the purple, really just going in, making little scribble marks, little tiny dots or circles or ovals. And we're just gonna keep doing, they can touch each other. Make sure you leave a little bit of white space, but super random, and kind of create the shape of this lilac flower. See, I'm just kind of getting the shape and filling it in, and I'm going to rinse off my brush with some clean water, just tapped it on my towel, and just kind of messing up what I just did to make it feel a little bit more soft and loose. And so again, super simple, easy, just try to do your best to be as random as possible. Now I went in with that darker bluish wash and just dropping in some of that color. You can see with the layering, the light and more pigmented washes together, you're going to get some depth to your flower here. So now I'm going in with some of the indigo and dropping that in an even darker color. And just like the flower, we're going to let this just kind of sit and settle and let those colors mix with each other. Maybe just a little bit more blue. And I think that's looking pretty good. Now, just like the other flower, we're going to do some really, really simple leaf shapes. I'm just going in with that same green and do a big leaf on the bottom, one on the side, a little stem, and then maybe one more leaf over here. All right, super simple. And now we're going to let that settle and move on. I think next we'll paint a tulip in between these two flowers. So kind of like the pink color I started with, but I'm going to add a little bit of cadmium red to get more of maybe a salmon-y kind of color. And super simple, just two kind of C shapes, fill it in. Tulips are very simple, and again, this is really meant to be loose and fun, and try not to be too hard on yourself. So tulips have these big tall leaves. I'm going to put couple behind there, but first drop in a little bit more of that pigment and going back for that green. So really tall, pointy leaves. You can see I did get a little bit of a green bleed there. I'm just going to dry off my brush on my towel and sop some of that up, and then I can go right back in with that pink color and fill it back in. We want these colors to kind of mix and bleed with each other a little bit, so I think that's going to add to the character of the painting. Put a leaf on the other side here, and now I'm looking at, I think I want to do a couple more small tulips just to kind of fill in the back here. So again, super simple, 2C shapes, kind of fill it in a little bit. I'm going in with a little bit darker pigment and just dropping that in at the base of each flower and along the sides. And I think I even want to maybe add a little bit of yellow here. So I'm just rinsing off my brush, grabbing some clean water and mixing up the yellow I already had on my palette, probably a little bit of cadmium yellow, and dropping that in at the base of these flowers and just kind of moving it around so you can get a little bit more dimension and separation between the two. So this is all there is to painting the flowers. The detail we're going to add later with the micron pen, and again we're going to be super loose with it, so if you're not very great at drawing, have no worries here. I'm just going to add a stem there for the tulips, and I think that looks pretty good. All right, so your next step here, before we move on to the pen, you have to make sure that your painting is completely dry. You can step away and let it dry, or like me, use some type of a heat tool. And so now that my painting is completely dry, I've got a micron pen here. It's the 0.8 size, and really any waterproof micron pen will do. And actually at this point, it doesn't even have to be waterproof because you're drawing on top of already dried watercolor, but super simple, just kind of outlining the shape of these tulips, thinking about where the petals might cross the middle and putting a stroke there, but really simple. Outline your leaves. I'm doing really long, quick strokes. You want it to be a little messy and just loose and fun. Here in the middle of the peony, starting with just kind of some spiral shaped lines, just again, a bunch of C curves, trying to follow the contour of the flower and where some of these petals might be. And you can feel free to add as much or as little detail as you like. If you like it without the pen, you can just leave it like that as well. But I think that this is a nice fun way to add a little bit of texture and interest to some of these loose florals. Again, just kind of outlining the leaves really, really loosely. And that stem there, a couple more leaves. And then for the lilac, we're just going to go in and do a bunch of smaller C curves, maybe kind of think like a bunch of grapes, but kind of face them different directions all the way around the flower here. And again, super, super simple, easy way to add some interest and detail to your loose watercolor florals. And I think this is a really fun project. Add some stems there, and great for a greeting card or even just a standalone painting. So hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Stay tuned for more. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and check us out on Facebook, Watercolor for Real Beginners Facebook group. Thanks for watching.